vital for us to understand the relationships that Penn State has with its external partners in particular. During For the Future, the campaign for Penn State students, corporations, foundations, and organizations accounted for 40% of the overall campaign total. And because of the nature of past successes, the configuration of our new campaign, and the potential growth we see in the future in this area of corporate and foundation relations, we know that this particular part of our program will need to play a very important and vital role in this new fundraising initiative that we actually began on July 1. So we're at the very beginning point. I'd also say because of market and industry trends and the changing nature of corporate and foundation relations, we're hoping to make this an annual event. There's been a lot of time that's been spent to get, I think, the right people in the room here, particularly our presenters, and I'm grateful for all of you making time to do that. And so before we get started with the actual first panel, I want to thank a few partners across the university and then introduce our corporate and foundation partners and let the games begin, so to speak. So let me thank the Office of Industrial Partnerships, the Office of the Vice President for Research, the Outreach, our Office of University Outreach, and then our Career Services offices as well for playing a part in helping organize and sponsor this. So let me introduce now, you'll have all the biographical sketches of these individuals in your program packet, but I'd like to acknowledge and particularly thank these individuals for coming here today and being important participants and help to us. Steve, and when I say your name, if you could please stand and wave, I'd appreciate it, because many of us know you, but not all of us know you, so if you could just kind of wave. Steve, we're going to start with you. Steve Falke, Barnes & Noble. Christopher Harris, who's formerly the Ford Foundation. Cindy Hendrickson, General Electric. Derek Horner at Merck. Molly Kunkel of the Center Foundation. Heather Major of Independence Blue Cross Foundation. Sam McLaughlin at Volvo. Rich Pewitt at IBM. And Steve Wagman at Siemens. You will have throughout the day, you'll have a chance to visit with these individuals, but I wanted to do that just so you can get a little face and name going here and know who these folks are on site. So there's three objectives that we have for the workshop, and I'll go through these. First is to encourage university-wide collaboration by working across our organization to build comprehensive relationships with our industry and foundation partners. Second objective is to understand how philanthropy is the common denominator that can tie all aspects of an industry-foundation relationship together and together with the university. And thirdly, to network with industry and foundation representatives and learn some of the upcoming opportunities available to all of us at Penn State and our various campuses and college programs as we think about the future here. So I'm pleased right now to ask Mark Armagost, who's our Executive Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations, to convene our first panel. So Mark, I'll turn things over to you, and I wish you all a great afternoon and lots of fervent and robust discussion. So thank you again for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron. We appreciate your introduction. Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. This is indeed the inaugural State of Corporate and Foundation Relations Workshop. I am Mark Armagost, Executive Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations. Today we've gathered some panel of administrators from across the university who work closely with our partners in corporations and foundations. As you know, Penn State is recognized as a national leader in recruiting, research, and outreach, for which many of these groups, philanthropy is the common bond that brings us all together as we work to build a comprehensive relationship with our private sector partners. Before we begin, I'd like to point out that you will see a videographer as well as a note taker in each one of the sessions. We plan on posting these sessions so you can go back and relive the magic online. Also, we will collect some of the key learnings that we're going to gather today and reflect upon these and produce a white paper which we'll also publish online. You'll see some note cards on your table. We'll ask you to write down questions or comments. We'll like to collect those on the way out. But following this panel, there'll be a moderated question and answer session. I'm going to ask each one of these panels to briefly give their names, their titles, and how they interact with the private sector and how they interact with our office. With that, I'd like to go ahead and get started. Keep us on a quick timeline if I could. And Bill, if you would please start off.
Hi, my name is Phil Harvey. I'm the Senior Director of Market Research, Strategy, and Business Development, Penn State Outreach. For many of you who may not know everything that Outreach does, a big part of my day is working with the World Campus. I've been here for about 10 years, and anybody who says higher education doesn't move very quickly probably didn't work in the online learning arena, and certainly hasn't been my experience while I've been here at Penn State. When I first got here, we had a couple thousand students, a handful of competitors in the online arena. We now have about 400 competitors, and we're expecting to have about 20,000 students online by the end of this fiscal year, which essentially makes us the second largest campus at Penn State. During that time, the online arena has gone from one where we saw explosive growth to one where now the market is pretty flat or maybe growing at a few percentage points depending upon what source you look at. During that time, we've continued to grow at about a 13% rate. And part of the reasoning for that is we saw that a couple years ago, the consumer market was starting to become more and more competitive, and that the cost of acquisition for an online student was going to increase. We started looking at other channels. One of the channels that we identified was corporations, because we felt we'd be able to bring a really, really solid reputation, online learning experience, and Penn State brand to our partners. And in return, we've worked with those partners to provide a very modest tuition reduction in exchange for them allowing us to market our World Campus programs to their employees. And we've now been at it a little over 2 years. It's been pretty successful for us. We expect this year to attract about 750 students into the program, and most likely will generate close to $6 million of revenue back to the university and to our academic partners. We've established some pretty strong relationships with organizations like Siemens, Booz Allen, Delta, and American Airlines, and this relatively small client of ours called the U.S. federal government. Across these clients, we now have about 44 corporate relationships, and through those relationships, we are bringing Penn State programs with the potential of taking Penn State programs to about 5 million individuals in the U.S., and we've been able to accomplish this in just a little bit over 2 years. One of the reasons that we're so excited about this event is as we look forward into the future, we're really looking at expanding our corporate partnerships beyond just a relationship where we provide services and they provide students. We want to work in the areas of student engagement, philanthropy, scholarships, and really helping our adult learners accomplish what they really want to accomplish, which is to either get a better job or find a new job. So we're very excited to be here. We see a lot of opportunities to collaborate with all of our colleagues here in the room that are involved in corporate relationships, and really looking forward to learning a lot today. Thanks.
Okay. Bob, would you go next, please?
Sure thing. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Bob Orndorff. I am the Director of Career Services. Let me explain our model of career services. I think it's important context for you to understand for today's event. I'm representing what we call more of our central career services center or office. And we have in each of the academic colleges career services, professional staffs, and offices as well. We have most large universities are decentralized, and they'll have, each academic college will have a career office, and there's not really a big central presence. We feel we have the best of both worlds, a little biased, where we have a large central career center, and we're working in coordination with the academic college career centers. So I want to point that out. I know I've seen a couple of our colleagues in the room. I see Meg Brower with the Smeal College of Business and Rick McClinic, who heads up Engineering Resource Services. So just wanted to give a shout out there as I'm talking there. It's really our collective work and not just what we're doing centrally in career services. How we interact with employers, let's start with the most obvious. We run some of the largest on-campus recruiting events in the country in way of career fairs and then ongoing on-campus interviewing. And just to give you some idea of what we're talking about, our fall career days last year, we had over 500 employers attend a three-day event, and we had over 10,400 primarily students and alumni attend that event. So some of the largest on-campus interviewing, we're hosting over 16,000 first-round interviews on our second floor of the Bank of America Career Services Center. 44 interview rooms, so you can see that's a big business all year round. We feel like it's not just the quantity, but the quality. When we ask for feedback from our employers, they constantly are telling us that they think it's the best run fairs and best run on-campus interviewing programs in the country. There was one person last year, I can't really give her name or company, she didn't want me to do that, who said, I've always had you guys at number 2 and my alma mater at number 1. You know what, after this event, I'm gonna have to travel to my alma mater next week for their fair and tell them they're number 2 now. So I don't know if she actually followed up, did that, but that was nice to hear. We obviously, they say that our students come really well dressed. They have those slick elevator pitches ready to go. Quality questions that they bring, and they're just very considerate and have those soft skills to offer. We try to coach them up on that. We can't avoid some of the bloopers, right, that come with that. We still get some things like one of the bloopers that I like the most is what was intended on the resume was responsible for running the entire Northeast chain of restaurants. What was written was responsible for ruining the entire Northeast chain of restaurants. So that I, instead of the second N or first N, makes all the difference. And we had our first Bachelorette of Science. They had Bachelorette and Bachelorette. We'd explain that makes a lot of sense, but we're not quite there to give you a Bachelorette of Science. So we do our part. We think in coaching the students up. That's the obvious. I think the other thing we think well in our interactions with employers is onboarding new employers. So whichever door they come in, if it's the Office of Industrial Partnerships or Corporate and Foundation Relations, and they say we really want to build a program, we, the central office, sort of serve as that point guard, if you will, and then we hand off to the appropriate academic college, hook them in, or get them connected to the right clubs and orgs. Maybe it's a research project they're interested in, but try to get them connected. So we onboard, I think, very well. And then we also provide consultation to those employers who aren't seeing the candidate pool that they want to see. How can they brand themselves better? And then again, of course, we're working in conjunction with our colleagues here that are representing the offices. But we help them brand a little better, market to students, and try to really get better and more candidates to them. Our interactions have been great, and I feel like they've been improving every year. Interactions with Corporate and Foundation Relations, Industrial Partnerships, and the Office of Development. 3 quick ways here. I think, first of all, recruiting, we know this, provides a great service to employers and a way to get them engaged in the broader university. I recall going along with our development team, and I believe it was Bechtel Corporation, and we did the pitch, we thanked them, the typical things for being so supportive of Penn State, and then the question was raised, what can we do for you, to their CEO? The response was, just get us more kids. We want to hire more of your kids. And so I do think that we help out in that relationship. Secondly, we have a really nice 2-way referral process. Those who want to brand more, we'll send them to our partners in corporate and foundation relations. And conversely, corporate and foundation relations will hand off corporate donors that, again, really want to do more in the way of recruiting. So we have a really good, fluid referral process both ways. And finally, I think the collaborative event. So we'll have these big talent acquisition days where they also want to look at possible research projects and opportunities to give to the university. I remember the Siemens Day, the GE Day, I could name a bunch of them, where we come together as a whole team collectively, and I think put on a pretty good show for Penn State, represent Penn State well, and really learn from our corporate partners on how we can better serve them and what opportunities they might have to helping us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Jeff?
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Jeff Fortin. I'm Associate Vice President for Research in the Office of the Vice President for Research, and I direct our Office of Industrial Partnerships. So to give you a little background, so I was in industry for 20 years before coming here 2 years ago. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm still new here and learning myself and partnering with a lot of the folks up here. So before I talk in detail about what my office does, I want to kind of step back a little bit and talk about the Office of Vice President for Research, because we engage with industry in a whole variety of ways, and I want to kind of paint that picture because my office is only one of a handful of offices that work together to do this. So, and what I'll do is a little bit, one of our main functions right now is driving one of the new initiatives. It's a little over a year old now, a year and a half old, called Invent Penn State. So just quickly, how many people have heard of Invent Penn State in the room? All right, that makes it a lot easier. And it's good to see because it's a pretty big initiative and it's driven by the president. And the goal of this initiative is for Penn State to become a driver of the economy of the state, to really help create jobs and to really give a better opportunity for our students. And what this means is helping our students and faculty, giving them the ability and the resources to take their ideas from the idea phase all the way through commercialization if they so choose. So, if you think about how do you do this, and this is where it interacts with industry, right? So how do you take ideas from the lab or from the minds of our students and get them into products? Well, one way, if you think about faculty, what our faculty do here, they're in their labs, they're creating new ideas, they come across something that's relevant to their industry, and they can get a patent on it. And we have an Office of Technology Management that works with our faculty to patent their ideas. So then what's the next step? So you can, one of the things we do quite often is we license that patent to companies. So we do about 30 of these licenses a year. I think we start off with over 300 ideas that get submitted. And in the end, we do about 30 licenses. And these licenses to companies can be to startups that are taking this technology out of the lab and starting a new business, or they can be large corporations like those that are in this room. So that's one way. So the second way is, you get faculty in their labs and they've got great ideas and they're working on things. And we have companies out there that are trying to solve their problems and trying to grow their business. And a lot of these companies have reduced their R&D focus, or are putting very specific targeted areas on new products. So they come to the university and they say, hey, we're trying to build this new technology, this new product line, and we're missing some skill sets or some expertise, and we'd love to see what you have in this huge place at the university that may help us with our products. And so we, and that's particularly what my office does, is we help those companies identify the faculty that have something that they could use and to build research partnerships. And these research partnerships take those ideas from the lab out and put them into commercialization. Okay, so that's the second way, through a partnership. And the third way is through a startup. So whether they're a student group or faculty, taking the ideas, packaging them up, and starting a new business. And James Salatre here in the room, he's been driving a lot of the entrepreneurship activities for the office and working across the university and the Commonwealth campuses on this. So all three of those ways you can see we're interacting with companies. Some of those are companies that are forming here, some of those that already exist and we're partnering with them. So just to give you an example of something we've been working on too, and you may have recently heard about Morgan Advanced Materials. So Morgan Advanced Materials is a materials company out of the UK on the London Stock Exchange. They're about a $1.5 billion company. They are growing and they're continuing to put more of their dollars into R&D. So they are a company that's saying, we know that if we have better technology, we can compete in our spaces better. So they came to Penn State and they reached out to us because of our Materials Research Institute, and they knew that we had some strength in materials, but they weren't sure exactly how they could engage with us. And their mission was to start a new center, build a whole new research team, and build a carbon science research center. So since we started off in March with discussions and connecting them to the faculty, to leaders across the institute, bringing in the community, the CPICC, bringing in the state, we were able to work with them to establish a Carbon Center of Excellence here in Innovation Park, and there's going to be a new building built in which they'll occupy a piece of it. So that kind of goes back to the discussion I just had around how do you move technology, and their goal, their plan is to be funding research, to be working on hiring students, student internships, and engaging with the university. And I think one of the next steps is to talk about how do they get involved in the philanthropic component as well. So that just gives you some idea there of how we interact with companies. And then lastly, we have been, since I got here 2 years ago, a very strong partnership with CFR. And I think they were happy to have us here because I think there's a lot of stuff going on around the university and research, and it's hard for one group to maintain an understanding of that. And so in almost every relationship that we have with a company right now, we're partnered with the CFR team on building that relationship. And we have some really good relationships now with some of the companies in the room. So that's a little bit of our office and what we're doing here. And in this afternoon session, I'll talk a little bit more about what we do and you'll hear more about our entrepreneurship activities.
Thank you, Jim. John?
My name is John Dietz. I'm the Associate Vice President for Development. I manage a lot of the central fundraising programs here at the university that really help the major gift fundraising enterprise, as well as do a lot of that fundraising ourselves. And I've been here about 27 years. Bill was asking me how long I've been here. And Jeff said he still feels new. Sometimes I still feel new, especially when I hang around with James Delatry in particular. So I do think that one of our key responsibilities, one of my key responsibilities, is really looking at how do we build these interdisciplinary relationships with these corporations. And we used to talk about the three kind of legs and stools of corporate interaction with the university, which was recruiting our students, kind of tapping into the research capabilities of our faculty, as well as philanthropy. But in the last couple of years, we've seen education, professional education, become a fourth piece of this in a very big way. And so we've worked with a lot of these folks here in terms of really trying to build the type of relationships that we want. I think that within the context of the university, Mark staffs a committee that's the Corporate Relations Council, and everybody up here sits on that, as well as about 15 different units at the university. And these are everybody from athletics to business. A couple of deans sit on it, engineering and business. And the idea is, how do we really look at kind of capitalizing on all the different touch points that we have with these different corporate partners. So we spent a lot of time talking about this. I don't know, about 6 weeks ago, Jeff and I went down to Philadelphia to meet with a company that has just kind of come on our radar. They said, we want to make Penn State one of our top 5 institutions. We want to talk about how do we really build a relationship across the board, from not just recruiting students, but to doing sponsored research and doing some proper philanthropy. And it's really turned out to be an interesting process. I was talking to some folks at lunch today. What we've done in the past, and when we did with Volvo, and Sam first kind of came on and said, hey, we want to build a deeper relationship with the university, we spent a lot of time with Sam trying to figure out what they wanted, kind of sporadically introduce them to different people within the institution, and because of his longevity with the company and some of our longevity, we've been able to kind of build that relationship. What we're trying to do with Jeff and I are trying to do with this new company is, let's just do this all at once and kind of introduce them to everybody and try to build from there and see how that works. So we've done a lot of work in this area. That's something that we really look at. And I think from a philanthropy perspective, a lot of what we do really relies on the ability to bring other opportunities to these companies. And if they want to have access to a certain type of research, or they want to just look at how we can help better educate their workforce or let them expand their workforce, it's important for us to really collaborate. And a lot of what we're trying to do today is to look at that and see, okay, what's available, what do these units do, and how do we work with them, and how can we coordinate that in a way that really is meaningful. And so that's one of the things that we've been trying to do here with the Corporate Relations Office. We've had really good relationships with everybody here, and it's something we just wanted to kind of bring to your attention.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. I'd like to open up the floor to questions. I would encourage everybody to take advantage of the note cards on your table and write down your questions. I'm not sure we'll have time to get to everybody. But if you raise your hand, Matt in the back of the room has a mic, and we'll bring it forward, and we'll hear what's going on that way. In order to just kick us off, let me ask this question wide open to all the panels. How do you suggest that we speak and operate with one university voice when there are so many different players involved working in the private sector? Whoever feels like tackling that first, feel free to jump right in.
I'll just kick it off from our end. We've recognized that we just need to get together more old-fashioned meetings, regular meetings. One example that we bring, just 2 years ago, we created, we don't have a good pet name for it, but the directors of each of the academic college career services offices meet with me, and we even have a rep, Lori Veers, who has responsibilities with the campuses and World Campus. So we have representation, we feel, of all career services professionals and leaders across the entire Penn State system. And we're meeting regularly and really trying to get more strategic and identify where are those opportunities to collaborate, where are the opportunities where we shouldn't collaborate, and all in the best interest of employers and students.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll follow up a little bit on that. I think that, there's so many, touch points to companies across the university that if you meet with someone from industry and you're having a discussion or you're learning something, most likely Penn State is working with them somewhere or has worked with them in the past. And so before you kind of go too far down a road of, trying to structure a relationship, I think reach out to like the team here and say, or Mark particularly, we have systems here, right, that to track all of our interactions, and we can go back and tell you, who's working with that company and what have they done in the past and what kind of relationship do we have and who are we talking with. So it's always great to get that first understanding when you're talking to a company. And I think that also stressing the point that we do not all work under one organization. We have multiple offices. We all serve different aspects, but we work together to make sure we're as cohesive as we can be. And I think giving that message that, if you need something, I can help you find it, and I'm going to bring you to that person, and we're going to make sure you're getting what you need, and if a handoff works, then we're going to do the handoff, and if I need to stay connected to this, I'll stay connected. So I think you got to treat your industry partners just like you want to be treated. You don't want to be passed around. You don't want to feel like they don't care about every need you have, because we do care about every need they have, and we're going to work with them to find the best solution for them. And so if you approach it that way, that you're not a silo, that you're part of a bigger team, and knowing that we probably already worked with them in one capacity or another, I think that's the best way you can approach it.
I guess my hope would be that through events like this, there's a lot of people in this room who touch companies in one way or another. You know, one of the biggest challenges is just knowing who has the relationships, and just because Penn State is such a big, complex place, a basic understanding of what capabilities we really do bring to the table, and then understanding, okay, when I see this opportunity, here's the individual I need to call so that we can get them involved. And one of our business development managers, Dave Firsters, in the room, and Dave was a longtime Penn Stater, and I was able to lure him back. And one of the first things Dave did, which I thought was brilliant, was he, instead of going out and just trouncing, you know, down doors, he spent a lot of time internally, going around to different people within the university and just getting a better understanding as to how they supported corporations and what their relations were, and just sort of opening doors so he knew where to go. And it's really, you know, resulted in some opportunities where, you know, we've seen something and we know that at World Campus we don't have the ability to fulfill that need, but, you know, we can refer, you know, the client to somebody within the university who can.
And I would really echo a lot of what was said here in terms of just having a bigger, broader perspective on what we're doing, understanding there are other touch points here. One thing we did probably about a year ago is we gave these guys access to AWA. They all had to be trained, but they did get trained, and so that there's an opportunity for them to kind of look in and see, okay, what are you doing with Chevron or with Volvo, and how do you take a look at that relationship? So it's something we've been doing. We've been really working to figure out how we can centralize some of that information. So particularly with key potential corporate partners and foundation partners.
I was going to say, that's proven invaluable because it allows everybody to see who is the staff principal and help make that relationship connection with the individuals that have that relationship. Is there any questions from the floor? Wow. I was just thinking, yeah, about the
How do you, and I think this for a lot of years, how do you leverage your opportunities with town hall campuses? Because when I say Penn State, I'm not going to picture the University Park, but half our students, we have a faculty out there. So how does that conversation work when you go outside?
To summarize that question, it was how do we work and leverage our opportunities with the Commonwealth campuses?
I'm happy to kick that off from a recruiting end. Again, infrastructure is important. You have to have someone, I think, full-time being the glue between UPark and the campuses and the World Campus. We have an associate director, I mentioned Lori Vieras, who is our associate director for the campuses and World Campus. What does that mean? That means that she has the campus and World Campus antenna all the time when we're talking about, here are the corporations coming on campus, here are the ones coming to the fair. Well, how about the campuses? How do we get it out to the campuses? So there's that goes on. Lori is responsible for maintaining the same quality of services at the campuses and the World Campus that we have here. So what does that mean? When there's a new career services director at a particular campus, Lori goes there and usually heads up the search, provides the training, equips them with the same resources that we have, et cetera. What we're looking forward to, we have a new technologies committee, not an exciting name again, but really looking at how can we expand our reach and become more cohesive. We have to do a better job than we've been doing, and we're starting to move in that direction. When let's say an employer panel comes to UPark, and it's an exceptional employer panel, a lot of great information, it's once and done. We are talking about how can we videotape it, stream it out, get it out to all campuses and World Campus, that kind of thing. We also want to even the playing field as far as on-campus recruitment. When I talk about on-campus recruitment, that's serving primarily, right, the 90+% UPark students. We do have some video interviewing with Barron Campus and Harrisburg. They're able to do some video interviews with those corporate recruiters who are here on campus, but that's not serving as widely as we need to. So we are now looking into how can we establish a more formalized video interviewing program that would even the playing field for our campuses, World Campus folks, and everyone. They would look at Penn State students, no matter where they're located, take geography out of the equation and pick the best candidates and hold screening interviews by way of video interviews.
Thank you. Other comments?
Yeah, I think development has the same situation where we have representatives on each of the campuses. We have some central managers that also coordinate that activity. You know, Del Santo, who does that, and then Ken Hall does some of that as well. So there's a lot of effort to make sure that if we're doing something here and there's an opportunity to include one of the campuses, we do that.
So I can answer that as well. So a couple things that we do in my office. We hold a monthly industry partnership working group meeting with associate deans for research, and we also have a number of campuses that participate in that. And what that does is on a monthly basis, we kind of bring up new opportunities and working with companies, what they're looking for. We share best practices, and we keep engaged in that manner. And the other thing we do when we have opportunities for research that we're seeking solutions for, we extend those needs broadly. And we've had in research days, research forums where we have companies come and meet researchers. We've had participants from Harrisburg, from Altoona, and from some of the other campuses come and participate. So it's hard to do, as always, right? Removed from here, it's harder to do, but we're doing everything we can to keep that engagement. And we're also right now working on rolling out a new system that will be an online tool where faculty, researchers from anywhere across the university, wherever they sit, will be able to go on and look at new opportunities where companies are looking to have their technical needs solved. And so this is an online tool and open to Penn State faculty. And so this is something that I hope will address that barrier a little bit and really make it very easy for anyone, wherever you are, as a faculty member, to access the needs of industry from a research perspective.
And in our Office of Corporate Foundation Relations, our various fundraisers have liaison assignments out to the development offices for the Commonwealth campuses. And so that's your direct access back to the office. Even if it's not in their portfolio, they can bring that whatever the issue is to the whole team, and we can help work it that way. Thank you.
Hi, Bob, just one thing I wanted to comment on is, with the exception of the Barron campus, we don't really recruit from a GE perspective at the other campuses, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't hire the students. And one of the things that we're finding is we're recruiting more and more at a younger and younger age, so that students are doing multiple internships and co-ops with us. So if they haven't been hired as freshmen and sophomores, the opportunities are much less for juniors. So we need to make sure the message is getting to the other campuses that they need to be looking when they first get on campus as freshmen.
Yep, I think that's a great point. And that's where the strength of our hybrid model and having the colleges, business college and engineering, who have the strong internship programs, and working with them and trying to reach out to our campuses, I think is so important. Yeah, no doubt.
That's Steve.
Continuing on that vein, Bob, there's a lot of assets across the university in the Commonwealth campuses, as well as Penn Technical College, and the large corporations are going to fewer and fewer universities to recruit from, looking to get most of their college hires from a handful of universities, as opposed to going to 50 or 60 college fairs a year. So tying together some of the specialized programs that take place, whether it's like a rail engineering signaling major at Altoona, or Penn Technical College, or Barron, being that one-stop shop, corporations won't go to 20 campuses, but the programs and the students, the quality of the students across the university, including the World Campus, would hold an attraction for corporations.
That's great. Thank you. And one more thing just on this, since we had two great comments, and we're right there with you as far as wanting to move in this direction. But we have, in addition to the video interviewing, we're really looking at how can we be more cohesive from a web presence. We also realize that the geography is sometimes more advantageous. Those that have a branch in Harrisburg or the Pittsburgh area, the Philly area, we don't, you could do internships with the students at those campuses where really the only way to probably do that internship with U Park folks is during the summer, right? Because they're taking a pretty full load of classes. So there are some advantages there that we really need to tap a little more effectively in doing that. But to your point, Steve, Lori Veras now, again, we made a change just recently, is sitting on that directors consortium, and it's for that very reason, to really be always thinking in terms of, well, what about the campuses here? How can we incorporate them in? But it has to be an all the time thing. Yeah, students certainly can come to the career fair, but again, it's not the percentages that we want, and therefore we need to establish the video interviewing as well as virtual career fairs.
Other comments or questions? One of the common themes is working with all the various units. So I'd be interested in hearing a little bit more about how you reach out to the various units, and when you hear about opportunities to work with the units that may affect one of our other offices, how you go about bringing that to our attention so we all can really help together to get this going.
I guess I'll answer that one.
Sure.
I think one of the themes that we hear a lot too is particularly around hiring students. So we're talking with folks who are looking at research, investing in research, and taking researchers from the university with a lot of expertise, particularly PhDs, and how do we move them into our companies. So I've reached out to Bob's team a number of times with companies that said they want to get more engaged in our career services and engage them. And actually just this week, Morgan, they are going to be hiring 10 to 15 people over the course of the next 5 years here, the majority of those PhDs. And so Matt from Bob's team helped me navigate who to get some job postings to, because they have postings ready to go, and they really would love to hire some alumni that understand Penn State, because there are these folks, these researchers who will be working with Penn State a lot. So just examples like that where we know where to go, we have good connections, and we find support. And from the industry side, it's great because it's like, here, I have some job postings. Can you help me fill these? And I say, I'm sure we can help. And we make do the internal things behind the scenes and come back and say, yep, they're posted on the MRI job board, they're on the Alumni Network job board, and a bunch of people have this out word of mouth. They're like, that's great, we love that, that's awesome. So I think that's just an example, but I think it's a good example of how we can work together.
One of the things I wanted to add, and it comes back to, again, the two comments, but I'm a big believer that you have to put a full-time person on these collaborative kinds of relationships to really get some traction. And to that end, mentioned Matt Sroka. Matt Sroka's in the room here. He served as assistant director for college and employer relations. We started using Matt more for the employer relations piece, and he did a great job for us. He's now working for MBA Career Services. But because there's an opening there, anytime there's an opening, we step back and say, do we want to adjust this at all? We are going to call this, the title's going to change to Employer Engagement Coordinator. And this person is, I just planned to see with Jeff earlier today, we want to sit down with their office, with development, corporate foundation relations, say this person is, we want them meeting regularly with your offices to be the point person to get to know the colleges, offices, and their people very well, to hand them off, so to really build up the cohesiveness. They're also, back to the campuses, going to be working with we have employer engagement specialists in the east side of Pennsylvania and the west side, representing those respective campuses already. We're going to have this person come together with them and really more cohesively talk about how can we get these opportunities out holistically to students at all locations. And I lost that thought when I was trying to respond to Steve, just came back to me. But having that person with that emphasis on bringing cohesiveness and collaboration, enhanced collaboration with our colleagues here in their offices, and especially then with the campuses and the World Campus, we think are going to really help us get to where we want to get to.
I think for us, because our business operation is relatively new, a big part of it is how you focus your individuals who are maintaining your relationships with your corporate clients. When we came out of the gate with this, it's about developing relationships, building enrollments, ultimately generating tuition income because, it helps keep the lights on. But as you start to build these deeper relationships with clients, you start to understand what their needs are. And then as we're working with our World Campus students, we start to understand more and more of what they want out of Penn State. And they want a quality education, but they also want assistance in being able to find a job. Well, it's pretty easy to marry that up with the comment that Steve made, that they want to be able to recruit the best and brightest from World Campus. So we've actually made a very focused effort this year to sort of take some resources away from just generating clients and generating enrollments, and really moving toward deepening the relationships with the B2B clients that we've already brought on board, so that we can move just beyond this enrollment revenue relationship and really see if we can start to link to help our corporate partners get closer to our students.
Yeah, I think that stewardship model is an important factor of what we do. A lot of times the company will say to us, well, we've been doing this and we're really happy with that, but we'd like to do X, Y, Z. And how do we go about doing that? And a lot of times, somebody from Mark's office or somebody from my shop will say, listen, we're going to gather a group of people together, we want to talk about X. And it's hard for us to understand everything that's going on. I spent 16 years working in colleges in earth mineral sciences and engineering. I may know most of what was going on in engineering, but in these roles, it's really hard for us to have that kind of depth of expertise. That's why a lot of times we'll call Joyce Matthews or somebody, say, we need somebody to come to this meeting because we need to talk to company X about Y and Z, and we need some help. And then at that point, we're really counting on Joyce or whoever Joyce sends to the meeting to be that expert for us and to be the advocate for their organization, so that we can really most effectively talk to the individuals about what we're doing. We just recently did this with Merck, where we had a bunch of folks together to sit down and talk about some ideas that you wanted to have. And that often is something that we do a lot. When I came back, because I know Megan, I know Rick McClinic and stuff, so when we had to come, we saw I'm interested in engineering and business students, I sent a note off to them and just sent a copy over to Bob to say, hey, we need you to kind of reach out to this person and see if you can help them. And so we do that, and we track that kind of information in our system, so we know that is something that we do. So we reach out into the organization, we reach across organizations when we need some assistance. So we have kind of the experts sitting there. If somebody's really interested in improving their branding and their visibility on campus, Michael, Bob, I say, let's talk about this and see what we can do to help this company kind of achieve some of its goals.
I'm just going to pick right up there, and then after John makes that handoff, then I'm getting together, if it's College of Business, Meg Brower from the College of Engineering students, Rick and Kim, and saying, hey, you're the insiders, you're the experts in your college. How do we get them out there into the classroom? Which clubs would be best? Boy, and they do their thing. So again, if we can keep being cohesive from the different units and have those handoffs be as fluid as possible, I just think we're going to hit the mark.
Yeah, I think a company develops a point of contact, and it could be almost anywhere at the institution. And it's not always maybe where it would be the perfect place for them to be, but they've developed a comfort zone in working with a certain individual. And it's really important that there's some effort to really make the institution look more like one entity, as opposed to, well, that's not what I do, you have to go talk to this person or that person. That's all part of the service mentality that we should have, particularly as representatives in development and in the other programs, because we are the outward face of the institution. It's important that we provide some of that service when we can.
Okay, thank you. We are about out of time here, so I'm going to ask the panelists if they would take a minute or two and have any final summary comments. And we'll start in reverse order, so we'll go with Jeff and Bill on that.
I guess I would say that I think this is a great kind of session here. I think talking about working with midstream and foundations is important for everybody to understand what we're doing, what the strategies are, and I think there's a lot more progress we can make. I think we've, in our CRC meetings, we've talked about how do we do even better? How do we really look more cohesive? How do we put together strong programs that represent the university? And there's more to do here, that's for sure. But I think that everything we've been doing is on the right track, and I'm happy to be here and be part of it.
Okay, thank you.
I find events like this really helpful for not only getting a better sense overall of all the different things Penn State can offer to our corporate clients, but really just understanding how things are changing. And in a lot of areas, they're changing over time, and it's really, really hard to do everything you have to do every day and still stay on top of how everything is changing. So the more that we can come up with ways like this to help keep not only the people in this room informed, but other leaders in the university informed about all the progress we're making with our corporate relationships, I think that would be a really good thing. And beyond that, if anybody from the company here wants to bring a Class A distance education to their employees, talk to me afterwards.
Yeah, I might kind of reiterate what I just said, because when he was saying about wrapping up, I sort of thought, maybe how we represent the institution is really important. It's critical in these early stage relationships in particular, that we really need to be attentive and aware of the fact that we are representing a very large institution that has so many touch points that it's important that are as inclusive as we possibly can be.
I would just sum up too by saying I really believe we're on the right path. We're moving in the right direction. Having the Office of Industrial Partnership, Jeff Fortin and Don, has been great for us and really bringing more cohesion. That's a prime example. The position that I just mentioned, where the emphasis is collaboration with these offices and our campuses. I think we have to have people in place who their job is to bring collaboration, to enhance collaboration. And so I just think if we keep on this path, we're going to be in good shape.
And to me, I'm struck by the importance of relationship building and building the collaborations both within the university, especially as dispersed as we are, as well as building the relationship with our donors. To me, they're equally important, and my team has heard me repeat many, many times that I think it's important that we work internally to build those type of cultivation relationships as it is that we can build externally. So with that, we're going to call this session done. If you have written down comments and questions on your note cards, we would love to collect them. We will convene our next breakout session at 2:15. The breakout sessions are on the back of your nameplate. And thank you very much.